Copy.
Good evening, brothers and sisters. We are back again. Um, every week we're coming back with you with something better than last week. We got some good topics for you tonight. We're excited to be here. We got all three of my brothers here for once. You know, I know it's been sort of off and on over these weeks, but we got all three here. So we're all excited to talk. Of course, but we always want to make this an inclusive conversation. It's never just us three. It's all about you as well. So as you can see on the list here of our topics, we also have time to talk for your comments. So we definitely want to get you into the conversation. Please feel free to drop your comments in. We will take time to read them and react. So this is always an inclusive conversation to get your thoughts about these topics. You're going to, of course, hear from us. I'm excited because I think we got some controversial things that we're going to be talking about, especially what's been going on in the news all week long. What's been buzzing in the news, and we're going to talk about that first. But before we get into that, let's bring Ike up to talk about some things about what we are and what we stand for and other housekeeping things.
No doubt. Well, welcome everybody. We're glad to have you with us. I know that we have friends who may be chiming in or logging in, so we're going to start in just a couple of minutes. I see we have a few friends with us already. Welcome to you. As Grant said, this is a weekly commentary where we offer a hopefully socially conscious perspective on the world and all of its current events, things that have happened since the last time we were together last week. You can see those topics there to the right. We will scroll through them in just a second, and along the way, as Brother Grant said, we hope to hear from you. We hope to get your comments, your reactions to what we're saying. If you have an additional thought, we urge you to drop it into the chat. We will drop a link if you'd like to join directly into the conversation with us, because while we've prepared some thoughts and ideas in reaction to these current events, we don't have all the answers. We know that you out there listening have valuable insight to contribute as well. So we believe in doing the knowledge together, and therefore we hope that you join us tonight, at least by reacting and commenting to what we're saying. But we also invite you, like I said, to jump directly into the conversation whenever you feel compelled. So I think that's just about it. And yeah, I'm excited. Like you said, G, we have some exciting topics to discuss this week.
All right. Well, let's start with the first one.
Oh man. All right. Let's hear it.
At the Oscars, Will Smith slapped Chris Rock after a poorly crafted joke about Smith's wife, Jada. Were his actions justified?
Oh man. Where do I start with this one? I've had several conversations about this incident, and it's been buzzing all over the place, the news, on Facebook, Twitter, any type of social media. It's just been the talk of the week. I want to come from a perspective that I don't think a lot of folks are talking about. Many people are just focusing on the act that Will Smith did is slapping Chris on stage. Well, that and also the joke in itself. But I kind of took it from another angle of this was personal for me. No, I wasn't there. No, I don't have any relationship with any type of way or friendship with anybody that was there. But what this meant for me was Will Smith and Chris Rock represented me more so than they ever could imagine. And that's just me being a black man. Like for me, I feel like I had to take the brunt of the incident, because what folks don't understand is in this country, when they turn the news on at 6 o'clock and they see black men constantly being arrested or being killed, it's a reflection of all of us. It's not just, oh, that person got killed or that person went to jail. No, it's black men, and we're all sort of lumped together in this. So there's a couple things that I think that we have to address here. Number one, there's some debate about the black man protecting his black woman, and the fact that Will had to somehow lash out and show that he's going to protect this black queen on stage, where he was assaulted by another black man, by the way. If you're going to bring race into it, I'm bringing it in because I feel like Will represented black men that night. And so when he went on stage and committed this, it was assault. Let's be honest about it. He committed assault. It wasn't an assault where he would be sent to jail. I mean, if he would have got anything, a misdemeanor off it. But the fact is, he assaulted Chris Rock on live television on the world stage. Could he have handled it differently? Yes, he could have. But all the audience saw was another aggressive black man, another angry black man who could not control himself, but resulted in violence. And if somebody in that living room that particular night said, man, I told you so, they're all violent. They're all folks you got to watch your back around. Because even at that particular level in life, he's wealthy, he's accomplished, he's successful. He's still one of those ones you got to be looking out for. You still can't trust him. So to me, I think he set us back 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I might be exaggerating, but he set us back some because I get the feeling that his actions are going, even though he's a well-trusted man. Will Smith has always been trusted. He's been sort of the non-aggressive guy, the family guy. You know, he's always a nice guy. That's what you always thought of Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I never thought of him being aggressive in nature at all. But so I was very shocked at his actions. I didn't feel they were justified, even though the joke was about his wife. Now, from the perspective of Chris Rock, was the joke called for? Maybe not. Did Chris know about Jada having alopecia? Maybe he didn't know. Maybe he thought it was a fashion statement. So in that regard, as a comedian, no one is off limits. I'm sorry. As a comedian, nobody's off limits. I'm letting them fly. I'm just saying. I'm letting them have it if I'm on stage. Now, your wife might get talked about. Now, if he knew she had alopecia and he still went there, Chris, you wrong. Because that's now something that she had no control over, and he's wrong for that. So I can talk a little more about this, but I'm not going to take all the time up. What are y'all thoughts?
It's kind of hard because I haven't seen the slap. I didn't watch any of it, and I purposely had not spent too much time following it for a few reasons, because it has been blown up into a bigger situation than it needs to be. As in, there's major things going on in the world right now, and everybody's still focusing on this. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the big thing of the day. Like we spoke on. We've been speaking on other things for the last couple of months. And this has overshadowed those things. And so that's one crazy thing. As many people who have opinions, who haven't spoken out on anything else, they have opinions. Got me looking at those people sideways now. Like, now you want to speak out on these two men when this really doesn't matter about this. This means nothing really in the large scheme of things. So that's one part about it. But then the idea of this took me back to maybe elementary school or high school. And for me, for some of us, at some point, that comedian is the bully. And at some point, that bully has to be taken down, right? I think sometimes in our community, we allow that bully to get away with it. I don't know, is it because of fear of being talked about also, or what? But sometimes, as we're all being educators at some point, when we know that kid, whether he's in the back of the class or wherever, he's talking about somebody and how he makes the rest of the class feel and how he intimidates the rest of the class just by jokes. And at some point, we always say, probably in the back of our mind, someday somebody's going to get him. Well, that was that day. And so even though it might have been wrong for Brother Will to hit, it was well deserved. Maybe not. I'm saying, like I said, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be any recourse against Will for those, but at the same time, you can understand when you get tired of being picked on, and so in that situation, I get it. I get why he hit, and at the same time, I can understand if someone says, you're being sanctioned or whatever because of that. But at the same point, I understand.
Let me just give me one more second.
Isaac, you got some on that?
You got something to say? I ain't gonna...
Yeah. First off, I don't agree, Grant, that what happened. Well, let me be careful in how I say this. You said before that this set Black men back decades, and I can't argue with the truth that there are people who watched that and made assumptions about Black men. You're right about that. I agree. People like that exist. I guess my challenge is that those same people already had their mind made up. And if that hadn't happened, they would have been talking about how the Oscars are rigged for the woke crowd, that Hollywood is all in a tizzy about representation. And so either way, the people who are drawing conclusions based on what Will Smith did were already drawing conclusions. They were already going to turn the Oscars into some political agenda. When Will Smith won his Oscar, he didn't win. He just won because the woke mob is in charge of Hollywood, right? So in that respect, I think measuring oneself by the tape of white acceptance is very dangerous. But again, it's not my place to judge or say that. That's something that you as a Black man live with that I don't. But I want to speak on behalf of who I know those people are who are saying those things about Black men or about Black people in general today as a result of what happened. The other thing that I want to mention is that Will Smith earlier that evening was the butt of a joke. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but Regina Hall had a bit where she brought up a bunch of the industry's best looking male sex symbols. And here's a picture of her with them on stage. And so what she was doing was saying, there's been a revision to the COVID protocol. If you hear your name called, I need you to come up to the stage to have a test done. And she would call people's names out, and she would say, oh, wait a minute, are you single? Oh, no, your name is not on this list. You're good. Negative. So the test is one where you'll have to open your mouth and I'll conduct a search with my tongue down your mouth. She was making sexual advances towards these men. And so she was calling their names out. And she said at one point, oh, Will, are you married? Oh, no, you're married, but Jada gave you approval. Come on up on the stage. And he laughed it off, and he didn't. But the joke on many levels was wholly inappropriate. Number one, for Regina Hall to participate in a bit where she comes off as a sex-crazed woman. She made sexual advances on each and every one of these guys that you see on the stage. And not only that, but she was touching them as well. She said, we need to conduct a full body search to make sure you're COVID-free. Here she is touching Bradley Cooper in his hind parts. So Will Smith has been the butt of jokes for a long time, up to and including minutes before Chris Rock made his fully and wholly inappropriate joke. I also don't agree that we should give Chris Rock a pass because he produced a documentary about hair and the meaning of hair to Black women and in the Black community. It's called Good Hair. He knows not to make a joke like that. I'm going to say what Chris Rock has said in the past when it comes to what Will Smith did. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I understand. So that's what I have to say about what happened the other night.
Well, okay, let me respond a little. Just a couple. We're not gonna go back and forth. But I'm just saying that. Let's be honest about it. Comedy is comedy. Okay, you can't really take a comedy serious. If you're gonna go to a comedy show and sit in the front row, I'm sorry, you are fair game to get talked about, and there are no limits to it. Okay, because number one, the comic comedian doesn't know who you are, and that's his job to make the audience laugh. Now, again, like I said before, if Chris Rock knew in fact that she had alopecia and he still made that joke, shame on Chris. Chris, you are wrong. But there are many women who wear their hairstyle as a fashion statement, and there is nothing necessarily wrong with that fashion of wearing short hair. But the comment, I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm just coming from a different perspective of, I don't think Chris Rock had any ill intentions when making that joke. And in fact, let's be honest about it. If they offered that role to Jada Pinkett, you know damn well she's going to take the role.
The thing
Jada
is,
hasn't acted in a while.
I think I agree with you there with that, G. I don't think that there was any ill intent on Chris Rock's part. I agree. But at the same time, it's that sometimes even with jokes, though, you never know how somebody's going to take it. You never know you never know the mind state of the person who this joke is going at.
But you don't wait till the Oscars is a man up.
No, but he
years about when Jada ran over Will.
But he just said the joke then. So like I said, at some point you never know what somebody's going through at that very moment, and that was it. Maybe tonight was the breaking point.
That's true.
And so that's what it was. Maybe tonight was a breaking point.
Well, you don't pick the season booted for you had decided your breaking point at the Oscars on the world stage.
Yeah, and while I'm saying things happen, and that could have definitely I can't. I'm not inside his mind, but at the same time, he could have been like, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of all this. And tonight, I'm saying go back to high school and think about that kid that's always being had jokes about them all day long. At some point, he was going to do something, right?
I'm not gonna pick graduation. I'm not gonna pick graduation ceremony to whoop somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, certain, you gotta pick the time to do the battle.
I agree. No, I agree with that. But at some point, keep in mind. But at some point, at some point you want him to stick. They're gonna stick up, right? He gonna do something, right? You want him to do that. So yeah. Would you say, Ike? I'm sorry.
Hey, so first off, Will Smith has already said that he was wrong. So I think all three of us agree that he shouldn't have slapped Chris Rock. So anything that I said, I don't want it to be construed as justifying at all what Will Smith did. But here's a question that I read today as I was studying more on this topic. I don't remember who it was that mentioned it, but it was a really insightful question. If it had been Billy Crystal who made that joke, would Will Smith have got up and smacked Billy Crystal the way that he smacked Chris Rock? What do you guys think about it?
Or Will Ferrell? Yeah, I've heard that.
No, I know. I would say no, because it's also I think it's a cultural thing too. It's a cultural thing. Yeah, it's a cultural thing. It's just when it could have been a friendship thing too. Like, man, you my boy, and you how you gonna talk about me? Because he slapped him, he didn't hit him. Now, if they wasn't friends, I mean, it could have been a hit. It was just a slap. And so I don't know. I ain't there. Like I said, there's other things when the world's more pressing, there's more important. That's going on. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? Who knows?
I'll answer for you, man. Answer no.
But
you know damn well he wouldn't have stuck foot on that stage. If it was Will Ferrell, if it was Billy Crystal, if it was any type of other comedian.
Come on, man. But no, you can't say that either. I mean,
he would have slapped Will Ferrell. Are you serious?
There's pictures of Will swinging on everybody. Don't make it seem like Will ain't swung on nobody.
Will ain't gotten a fight in his life.
No. Come on, no. Will done swung on some people.
He swung on that. He swung on the. They saw one clip of him with some guy trying to kiss him in France.
That's good enough. I mean, I'm saying that's good enough, right? That's good enough.
Trust me, he picked on the person who he knew he could do that to and walk away from. If it was August Elstein, if it was The Rock, if it was anybody bigger than him, he would have sat back there. He laughed first. This is the problem I don't understand. If someone's hurting my wife, why would I laugh?
Is it the issue that who it was versus? Because the thing is, I don't care who it was. I understand why it happened. It's the issue that.
Look, hold on, man. I gotta cut in. We gotta move on. But look, I got some breaking news.
Okay.
Breaking news. The Oscars have just announced their host for next year. Did y'all hear about this yet?
No. Chris Rock? Oh my! What? What?
Oh, you got jokes too. Now you want to be a comedian. Now you want to. And now you got jokes now.
Yeah.
Who put you up to this? Where's your wife at, Ike? Go get her right now. Where's your wife at? Where's your wife at?
No good.
Where's your wife at? Go get her right now.
All right, hold on. Let's move on.
You're done.
Yeah, okay.
Let's move on.
You're done.
All right, next question. Hold on.
That's funny.
Joe Biden recently stated that Russian President Putin does not deserve to be in power, sparking controversy about secret plans for regime change. Was Biden's statement simple rhetoric or something more serious?
Oh man, this is a really good question, and my response is yes. I think it speaks to something more serious, more nefarious that is happening behind closed doors. I absolutely think that the United States and its friends are conspiring to remove Putin from power. Let's keep in mind the United States orchestrated regime change in Ukraine in 2014, orchestrated regime change in Libya under Obama's administration, and for decades previously have orchestrated the election of leaders friendly to American interests, friendly to American military power, thus and so. And in Israel, even up to and including this day, we pay for the Israelis to bomb the Palestinians, to take land belonging to Palestinians, and to operate essentially what amounts to apartheid there. So the United States actively props up regimes all across the world, and it would not surprise me at all if the United States and other powers in Western Europe are working to remove Putin from power. Now, you guys remember a couple weeks ago, we've been talking about this every week, that there's been talk of a coup in Russia because the war is going so badly. Don't think that the United States doesn't have their hands in that. Don't think that the National Endowment for Democracy and all these other nonprofit organizations funded directly by the United States government aren't actively fomenting new leadership in Russia, whether in the government or elsewhere. So I don't think that it's a mistake. I don't think it's an accident at all that he spoke the way he did. I think it was kind of a hot mic moment, but more to come, I guess. We'll see.
I don't think that. I think I don't think it was new news. I think America probably has always been trying to be in a position to try to do something similar. Um, do they have the? Is it something possible to do? I doubt it. I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's going to happen because I don't think it's possible. I mean, anything's possible, but I don't think it's going to happen. Um, but it getting done or the idea, like you were saying, is something that America has always been doing. Matter of fact, it was something that's trying to be done here a year and a couple of months ago. You know what I'm saying? That level of coup or takeover. So that idea of America having his hand in something like that, it should not be surprising to anybody. But to one of his biggest adversaries at this time, I don't think it's going to happen. I think maybe, like I said, I think maybe that was just a hot mic moment. He's talking on the turn. And could just speak to the president's incompetence. I want to say. Sometimes he just speaks and he shouldn't be saying some things. Shouldn't be saying some things. He's talking. He shouldn't be talking. He shouldn't be saying some things at all. And so maybe he just got caught up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he definitely he went off script. That's exactly what, and that's exactly the words that came out of actually one of the lawmakers actually said that he needs to stay on script. I believe it was Senator Jim Ritz of Idaho, the top Republican of the Foreign Relations Committee, saying he wished that Mr. Biden would stay on script. So Joe Biden spoke his real thoughts. He really does wish. He thinks that Putin cannot remain in power. But that's not what the script says. We all know about that script. So they're going to try to be diplomatic and say it's up to the Russian people to decide if Putin stays in or not. But if it was up to Joe Biden, he would definitely want him to be removed because of what he's doing right now. So, yeah, he slipped, and Joe has been slipping quite a bit. Some have believed it is related to health issues. Some have even had some rumors going around that he could possibly be entering to some state of dementia. So that's not out of the question. That's not off the table. But he definitely spoke his mind, and what he said was really what he really felt. You muted.
Sorry, I was just saying, G, why don't we jump into the comments? We have a lot of them there to react to.
Oh man, we do. Let's see where we start at here. Hold on. Let's go. Let me respect for everybody's comments. So we start off with Raquel saying exactly. I guess she was agreeing with someone's comment. Danica, yeah, you hear last week, I believe. But if Will thought it was ill-intended or thought Chris, I'm sorry. Yeah, if Will thought it was ill-intended or that he thought Chris knew, does that change response to his reaction? I think it does. I think if he knew Chris didn't know, I don't know if he would have smacked him, but maybe he thought he did know. I mean, I saw a clip of Jada saying on the red table conversation about her situation with alopecia, but that doesn't mean Chris saw it. But I think that it would have changed his Chris's jokes if he knew that she had alopecia. I don't think he would have did that joke. Me personally. We got Courtney saying Rock's joke was in poor taste and inappropriate, but Will's action was a public display of toxic masculinity. His violence is inexcusable. Would y'all agree on that?
Word up, Courtney.
I don't think so.
I agree.
I don't agree with it because only like I said, I want to go back to we have allowed comedians, as in these class bullies, to get away with things, and at some point the class bullies has to be put in place. No one has put these class bullies to put in place. Jokes doesn't have to be poor taste. Jokes do not have to be put up with. And that's the problem. We have allowed poor taste. That whole thing of sticks and stones don't break my bones. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words never hurt me. It's the biggest lie. It's the biggest lie. I mean, we hear them from we've heard it for such a long time. We hear it all day long. Kids talking about each other all day. You talk about the kids' shoes, the clothes, and some kids don't have anything to fight against. And they go home, they feel a certain way about it, and it's a shame that no one does anything about it. I'm not justifying Will's actions, but no one does anything to the bully. No one does anything to the bully. So from a larger scale, so from a larger scale, jokes doesn't have to be talking about somebody. It could be, why did the chicken cross the road? We could all laugh at that. Why can't jokes be that way? Why does it have to be demeaning somebody? That's the issue for me.
But listen to what Courtney says next. He says, I wonder why people are okay with his violence. It is because that type of behavior is expected from black men.
No. I mean, listen. And this is why I agree with Ike. They could have went up there and hugged, and they still would have been thugs. They could have hugged it out. They could have went up there and broke. They trust me. Like Ike said, no matter what happened that night, whether they're millionaires, whether they're dead broke, the rest of that night they thugs anyway. They niggas anyway. That's what it comes down to. At the end of the night, they niggas.
I mean, in some people's eyes.
No. In that eye, and in the academy eyes, in this society, they niggas. I don't care what happens, what they do, that don't do. So at this point, we can't keep trying to prove ourselves to that white viewpoint. Because no matter what, we're never gonna be it. No matter, we're always gonna be niggas to them. So I don't care about it no more. So like even those type of award shows, I don't care about those award shows because it's still based on the level of white supremacy anyway. But I get it because that's their craft. But no matter what they did, I mean, whether they dressed up in suits or they would have came in the shikis, still niggas. Whether he would have slapped them or gave him a hug, still niggas.
Okay.
Whether he would have laughed at him talking about his wife, still a nigga. It wouldn't matter what would have happened. But at some point, I get him. I get it. I understand it. I'm not justifying it. I get it. I get him saying something. Whether he would have said something after the show, I wish he wouldn't have said something about his wife, still a nigga.
I mean, and I want to add to that. I think Courtney is right on. She said that Chris's joke was in poor taste. I believe strongly he knows what Jada Pinkett Smith has been going through. She's been public for a year talking about it on social media and on her programs. He had to have known, and if he didn't, then he should have researched first, because he knows that joking about a woman's hair, a black woman's hair in particular, that's very thin ice. Very thin ice. Very thin ice. Even I know that as a white guy, I know that. It's not something I would ever do in a million years. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who I'm talking to. Doesn't matter who I'm with. I'm not making a joke about a woman's hair or a black woman's hair. I'm not going to do it. And I'm not even a comedian. The other thing that astounds me is how no one's talking about the disrespect of the black woman at the Oscars. Jada Pinkett Smith was disrespected. That's the thing that we can all agree on. We all know that the joke was in poor taste. Total disrespect of her as a woman. That bit, which was written for Regina Hall, made her look sex crazy and just outrageous. Fomented every possible stereotype in the book for black women. Now, again, to my earlier point, I don't think that that's necessarily the people who are going to read into that and interpret it that way are people who were going to have a problem anyway with the Oscars or with Regina Hall being a featured performer at the Oscars. They're going to have a problem with it no matter what she said on the stage. But I think that bit was in completely poor taste and promoted another level of toxic masculinity as well, because toxic masculinity is not only about bad behavior among and performed by men, it's also about women fulfilling a certain trope as well. And that bit completely upheld toxic masculinity, and also known as, I guess, toxic femininity as well. So I guess that's my take on that. But I know we have other comments and stuff too. So
yeah, I want to say, because here's Teresa Jones. She said it's not a cultural thing. Will was just wrong. I don't think it had anything to do with the joke. Will and Jada had some long-standing issues. Will has a lot of pent-up anger, and it seems he's being manipulated by Jada. I completely agree with that. I figured someone is having a rush. I think that might have been the last comment on the Will and Jada situation, and we're moving on to another comment, I guess, for the next. Let me just wrap it up by something we didn't talk about, and I know you all are talking about that. You all do realize that it was produced by the first black person, Will Packer, produced the Oscars. The first all black producing cast that the Oscars ever had. So that was another part that was so disappointing, because I got overshadowed. The fact that we had the first black producer, they actually let somebody come in and do it that was black. It got overshadowed. Questlove won an Oscar. That got overshadowed. A lot of good pieces of the Oscars that got overshadowed by this whole slap thing that people are upset about too. But anyway, let's go on. We'll go all night on that.
There's a few comments about Russia in there too, G. Let's get to a couple of those.
Yeah. All right. We got Biden just said out loud. Okay, let me make sure I'm in the right order here. All right, so we got Teresa coming again saying, well, some people said about slapping was in order. Biden just outlawed what many across the globe have been saying and thinking, including Russian people. Ginger Baker says America is notorious for throwing rocks and hiding their hand. Then when people react to what America has done to them, the victim becomes the problem.
Say that again. What was that?
America is notorious for throwing rocks and hiding their hand. Then when people react to what America has done to them, the victim has the problem, becomes the problem.
I say the same thing about the Chris Rock. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Chris, somebody else said something. We back on Chris again. You don't have to body shame. Not acceptable. It's a form of bullying. Chris joke was in poor taste. It was violence towards Jada about that. He should have done his homework. Plus, many women of color are sensitive about issues around the hair. I think you all have definitely made that point. Yes, the joke was in poor taste. You don't need to put up with it. Olivia, he had to have known exactly black women's hair too. And Yeah, he produced that documentary. Exactly. Disrespectful Will handled the business. This is all Olivia talking. Toxic Feminist 2. Courtney comes back. Chris Rock and Will Smith were both wrong. It doesn't have to be one over the other. I agree with that.
Hey, I'm rocking with Olivia in the comments. Right on, Olivia. I hear you.
Then Olivia said, disagree totally, 100%. This is not about dysfunctional relationship. Jada and Will.
I see Ginger too. Like I see Ginger.
At the
I love
top.
that comment about throwing rocks and hiding your hand. Taretha as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Taretha, she makes a comment, which is true, that a lot of people want for Putin to be put out of office. We do too. I mean, Putin the thing that Biden has said about Putin, which is true, is that he is a war criminal. He deserves to be put out of office. It isn't the United States who should do it, though, because the United States won't act in the interest of the Russian people. The United States will act in the interest of oil companies and other influential people who have their hands all over Congress, the military-industrial complex, and so forth. I mean, it's no accident that we buy a lot of our oil from Russia, and so do others in Europe as well. And so, whomever the United States installs in Russia is going to be first and foremost amenable to those interests, not necessarily the interests of the Russian people. So I think that regime change is called for, but I think that it's something that the Russian people themselves have to do without the interference of the United States, because we know how that will go. We ready for the next topic?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's go for it.
The confirmation hearing for Ketanji Brown Jackson has finished. What were the key moments of the hearing?
I think it was a wonderful example of seeing what Black women go through, how they are picked apart, how they are judged, and being able to see that firsthand, and also being able to see what that looks like. I think that the support that Cory Booker verbally gave, that looked wonderful. Also, but the problem is also what I saw during last week was what politics has become. And it's not just the Republicans in this time, but also it's on both sides. But Republicans during this time using their big political platform to focus on cultural situations, or especially those with 2024 ambitions, using that time to speak on whatever they thought was important at that time. So this it seemed like there was this picking on things that didn't mean anything or had nothing to do with her. And I just found that to be a waste of time. And I guess it was good to watch, good to see how firm she was in her answers. I'm not too sure she'll get confirmed. That's what I have to say for right now.
Yeah, I'm rocking with that, Amari. I agree. The moment with Cory Booker, where he talked about the importance of Ketanji Brown Jackson potentially ascending to the Supreme Court was terrific. I think in addition to that, this is more a moment that was caught on camera was the picture of Ketanji's daughter looking on as she fielded questions and went through the hearing. I think that picture speaks volumes in terms of the great importance that Ketanji Brown joining the Supreme Court has in America to a demographic of people, Black women especially, who have been overlooked for literally centuries, yet having been more than qualified to occupy a position on the Supreme Court. And the story that she told, and you referenced it a little bit, Amari, about running into another Black woman on the street one day in the middle of the hearings. And it had been a hard day for her. She had a lot on her mind. And the woman, they talked, and as they parted, the woman said one word to her: persevere. And as Ketanji Brown Jackson spoke this story, she became emotional as she presented it to the Senate. And I think that, again, encapsulates so much about our country and about what Black women in America deal with each and every day. But I think even more specifically than that, I mean, look at this is it personified, like this in illustrated. This is the embodiment of it. You have a fool like Lindsey Graham who's grilling Ketanji Brown Jackson about a very specific sentence that she meted out with reference to sex offenders. They talked for, between Lindsey Graham and a few of the other Republicans who questioned, they talked for hours about her sentencing. And Ketanji Brown Jackson at one point said, listen, we're here to talk about my credentials, not about the sentences that I assigned to these handful of cases. So the this is a picture of her persisting and kind of persevering in the way that the woman on the street suggested that she continue to. And then here's another one. Here's Josh Hawley, who was a criminal, and I think it kind of speaks to the the mediocre white man and the position of powers that mediocre white men in this country occupy, and the hoops that other people have to jump through at the behest of these mediocre white men. Josh Hawley being chief among them. Another highlight, just to add to something that you said, Amara, you talked about some of the theatrics, the political theatrics, and how many of the Republicans and some of the Democrats too were using this as a pulpit to position themselves and other Republicans for the upcoming election in November, and maybe even for a presidential run, such as someone like Josh Hawley. But Ted Cruz asked Ketanji Brown about critical race theory, and I was so amused by the way he defined critical race theory that I have to quote exactly what he said in framing the question to Ketanji Brown Jackson. So here is exactly what Ted Cruz defined as critical race theory. He says, critical race theory frames all of society as a fundamental and intractable battle between the races. It views every conflict as a racial conflict. And I mean, I had to laugh out loud when I heard him describe critical race theory that way. So he proceeds to ask Ketanji Brown Jackson a question about critical race theory, and she answers it in exactly the way that a lawyer or a judge would. She says, well, critical race theory is an academic theory. I don't understand that it's being taught in schools, because it isn't. Because what Republicans mean when they talk about critical race theory is whitening history, is removing the aspects of our history that will make white children feel uncomfortable. That has nothing to do with critical race theory and everything to do with white privilege. But when they message it as an intellectual debate about critical race theory, they can hide behind the principles of critical race theory instead of simply calling it what it is, which is that they want to protect white comfort. Ketanji Brown Jackson wasn't having any of it. She was on point. She dealt with Hawley and Graham and Cruz and others with extreme grace, and I will be happy when she is confirmed, hopefully sometime very soon. So that's my take on that. I think we're ready for the next topic.
Text messages have surfaced between Ginni Thomas, wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, and White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows leading up to January 6, 2020, urging him to stop the certification of Biden's election. Should Clarence Thomas resign?
Okay, so we're talking about Clarence Thomas' wife, Virginia Thomas, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. She has a long track record of conservative activism, which is totally fine to be active in a political party, regardless of what your husband's job is. But it seems like most people might, fall back, especially because that job is a lifetime appointment. But in the weeks following, Trump's November 2020 loss, Thomas sent these 29 messages to his chief of staff, to Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, pushing false claims and conspiracy theories. She urged him and others to fight election Biden to win. Now, this is the big problem that everybody's talking about now. What should Clarence Thomas do? Should he be resigned? Should he not be able to speak on any of the cases that could come up from this situation? And I think that he should. I'm not saying he should resign, but maybe he shouldn't speak on any cases dealing with Trump. What do you guys think?
Yeah, bro, I agree with you, man. The thing is that it isn't only that Clarence Thomas could rule on cases pertaining to the January 6, 2021 riot terror act. It's that he already has. There was a case that has already gone before the Supreme Court pertaining to information that then President Trump would be required or not required to turn over to the congressional committee investigating the events of January 6, 2021. Every single justice except Clarence Thomas ruled that Trump's information, his emails, his phone records were not protected by executive privilege and should be turned over to the congressional committee. The one justice who ruled against that position was Clarence Thomas. And so there is already strong evidence that Clarence Thomas is being influenced by his wife, Ginni. He should absolutely resign, and he should resign immediately. That's my take on that. Did you want to add anything on this one, G, or did you have any responses there?
It's unfortunate that now, this is all taking place. Actually, before this broke, I believe Justice Thomas was placed on, I'm not sure his condition, but there was some type of infection that they found or something. It's just kind of around how all the timing is. Now he's sickly now, and now his wife is under fire. I don't think he's going to resign. I think he probably his head. My wife, what that do with what she's doing had nothing to do with. I didn't send text messages. It's what she did. So I think in his head he's thinking, yeah, she was wrong for it, but I'm the one that's on the Supreme Court, not her. So I find it fascinating that she's even involved to the point where she had that kind of influence where we're even talking about this. I mean, it's mind blowing to me. I don't really have much to say about it, but I think it is unethical. I think that if it does get to the point where the fire keeps getting fuel, it may come to the point where he might have to resign. But I think what he's initially thinking is, yeah, she's wrong and he has to deal with that. I mean, he has to live with the woman, right? That's his wife. But I don't think that he's probably going to just off rip, I guess I better step down. I don't think he's going to do it.
Is there any precedence about him stepping down or resigning? That's the thing. I mean, what's going to force him to? Is there anything to force him to?
Yeah, that's a good question, Amari. I don't know the answer to that personally, but I also think that this is an unprecedented situation because he could have recused himself from the particular case that I mentioned earlier. He could have recused himself and should have.
And keep in mind,
but he didn't. So the fact that he didn't, and the fact that we now know that Ginni Thomas has been sending texts and interacting with Mark Meadows, maybe even others from Trump's White House, to me, those are two damning pieces of information that would suggest, I think strongly, that he ought to resign.
And keep in mind how they pressed her, how they pressed, I can't pronounce her name. I'm gonna get her name right now. Ketanji with Harvard and admissions, where she recruits herself, right? And she ended up doing it. She said she would, right? Because she see how that could be unethical. Because that was something that was important. Like that's something that she should do. And now you want to sit back and now I think that it should be weighed. If she needs to pull away from emission cases, then why shouldn't he pull away from this? And if he doesn't, then something needs to be done. I just don't know. This is the Supreme Court. I just don't know if there's anything anything precedent to allow it to happen. And look how slow everything's moving, though. I know we got to go, but look how slow everything's moving. There's enough information. You would think there's enough information with the previous presidents to do something about, and you keep hearing everything. Oh, we got this now. We got this law. We got these papers. We've been hearing stuff for the last 2.5 years, and nothing. So what makes people have faith that anything will happen?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the problem too. It's like, yeah, we done been down this road, especially with this president. I mean, he knows how to kick the ball down the street.
Yeah. Let's jump into the comments. I see we have some new ones, and I love that there's conversation happening between our listeners as well. That's fantastic that y'all are having your own dialogue in addition to the one we're having here. Hopefully, we're making connections with one another, even in the chat outside of what we're talking about. So that's terrific. So Danica says that Ted Cruz is a moron. Her response was perfect. Right on. He is. I mean, I understand that we need to have a multitude of perspective in Congress, but we don't need to have a Ted Cruz. I mean, he's a hot man. He's a fool. He's a fool. So I agree. That's a great point. I see Olivia says the critical race theory is under scrutiny, but what about white supremacy? It's taught in school at the college level. Yeah, exactly. That's a great point, Olivia. And they're hiding, I think, critics of the true study of American history hide behind critical race theory. And they describe critical race theory in the way that Ted Cruz did to try to villainize it among innocent Americans who have never heard of critical race theory, except from someone like Ted Cruz or other right-wing sort of moguls and stuff, or even those on the far right as well. So that's a great call out. Any other comments there that we want to add? Call out.
There's a long one from Ginger. We want to read that one up. Ted Cruz is the reason why senators should be able to get fired. When he left Texas with his family to go to Cancun during a winter storm that affected the whole state that he represents, he should have been fired. He left his people without heat because of the power grid that he and others won't have fixed. Yeah, Ted needs to go, man. I'm not no disagreeing here about Ted. But yeah,
term limits or something. Something needs to be in place. I agree.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's jump into this next one.
Oh, okay. We've all been looking forward to this one, huh?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Let's jump in. Let's hear the question.
What is the best hip hop album of 2022 so far?
Now, let me say this. Now, if people don't understand that we're hip hop heads. I mean, we've been fans of it for a long time. It's something that brings us together, brought us together at college. Even in our old age, it's something that keeps us together. Matter of fact, at one point, Grant used to be an MC.
Oh, wow.
And we still waiting on the lost tapes from Grant. So, but it's always something that keeps us close. So we're always going to talk about hip hop a lot, probably. So
go for it, Amari.
Listen, it's a couple of albums that are out that I think I liked a lot. One that I forgot to really send you earlier. One is I'm a real fan of Beanie the Butcher. Benny the Butcher. I think I love his flow, the voice of his. I think that he has a lot of promise coming up. But I will say this though, I said that, but then I did forget somebody that I do have in rotation now more than Benny the Butcher, and that's LaRussell. I forgot about LaRussell and the stuff that he's been dropping for probably the last year. He got an album called For What It's Worth, right? And I mean he's an independent artist, right? He's coming out the West Coast. He got a couple of freestyle tracks. They was on LA Leakers that came out this year, and where else was he on? I know he was on the Breakfast Club this year too. But his album that came out this year was For What It's Worth. It's a banger. It's a banger. He had a late release for 2021. A couple of them came out last year too, man. If somebody wants some real good soul touching hip hop, pick up a LaRussell. Trust me. Probably I would say I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say the next couple of years, he's gonna be in the top 10 in the next couple of years. Start from this year, next couple of years. I'm putting LaRussell up there. I'm gonna say it. I'm willing to bet a AMC share on it.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, I'm trying. Just type in LaRussell. I'm telling you, great MC.
Check him out. You want next site?
No, you got it.
Well, those who've been following us know I've been very critical of MC lately, but there is one MC I do have to give props to. He's coming out the old school. He was a part of a group called Griselda. These brothers come out of Buffalo, New York. They don't really get a lot of respect from Buffalo, but they've proved themselves. Conway the Machine has chosen to step away from not necessarily the group, but the label. He was on Shady for a minute. He stepped away from that, and now he has formed his own label. And it's his latest project called God Don't Make Mistakes. Basically about how he got shot in the head, was left him with Bell's palsy, but he has a track on there that kind of says like, this is all in God's plan. Like, what if it's never happened? Would I be here right now? Would I be rhyming like this? I think that experience gave him the drive and to be a better MC and to get to where he's at now because of that incident. So that's why the album God Don't Make Mistakes. It's a banger album. I think it's like 12 tracks on there. You can get it on iTunes literally for like under $8. It's too cheap. I mean, it should be at least $20, but I think it's going for like $8 on iTunes. I mean, his style, reminds me a lot of the production. At least reminds me a lot of Wu-Tang. Some of that old school grimy stuff that RZA used to do. They got DJ Premier do a lot of their beats on the couple of the Griselda joints. I'm not sure if he's on this particular project, but it's worth to listen to. I think it's going to be one of the hottest albums of the year for sure.
And once again, that they both part of that Benny the Butcher and
yeah, that's right. Benny and Dad, they're part of Griselda.
It's somebody. I mean, that it may because we're. I won't say maybe because we're older. We like the old hip hop feel, but you get that with those two artists. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see this trash that I got. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, let's see what he got.
I think he got Cypress Hill. And what you got? Cypress Hill.
Man, probably something worse than that.
You do got Cypress Hill. Oh God!
Be real.
I was joking with you. Wow! I was joking. KRS One got a new album out. You could have put that out there. What? Oh my God!
Who the two cats in the back? Oh man,
it's Be Real and DJ Muggs, man.
Oh, DJ Muggs. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Oh,
Eric Bobo.
Ike has had a rough couple of weeks because he got this movie out that he's in. So I don't think he's really focusing. So I think this was going on.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna tell you, this is their best album since their debut joint back in 1991.
1991 wasn't a good year for them.
1991 was their first album.
Exactly. It could have been their last. It should have been their last.
That album, their first album was a classic.
Okay, classic not.
Oh wow. Okay, you're showing your own hip hop credentials right now. If you're
That's
gonna call
possible.
their first album,
That's possible.
They've made, this is their 10th album.
Okay.
And
10 too many.
This album was produced by Black Milk out of Detroit. So it has a different feel than a traditional Cypress Hill album. And let's be real about this. No pun intended. I'm not a Cypress Hill fan. Outside of their first album and a few tracks here and there in between, I haven't listened to a Cypress Hill album all the way through. But this album, I'm telling you, is different. Now, none of the MCs in Cypress Hill are lyrical geniuses, but they're good enough and they rock these beats fantastically. And if you like scratches and if you like that gritty feel interspersed with a little bit of new flavor, like if you're down for hardcore true hip hop from the golden era, but you also like to mess with some new stuff, I'm telling you, Cypress Hill's new album is the joint. I'm not hating on the other two albums. Both of those albums are great too. I'm just saying that this is one that you guys should pick up, and I hope our listeners will give a listen to if you can. There's a song, and if you don't listen to any other song, you can probably find it on YouTube. Listen to a song called Champion Sound. And if you like that song, then you will like the rest of the album. It's only 10 songs on the album. The album is only about 32 minutes long. So if you are in the mood to pick up a new hip hop album and you like old school hip hop, check out this Cypress Hill album. Definitely worth listening to.
Nope. That's not gonna happen.
All right.
I give it a shot. I give it a shot.
All right, let's move. Next topic.
During Prince William's recent trip to the Caribbean, several countries indicated their desire for independence. What should happen next?
So, the Prince William and his wife Kate, they went on a tour to some of the Caribbean countries. And during that tour, there was some uproar. Some of the people didn't want them there. That there was some problems because I want to say some comments were made or whatnot, but recently, go ahead.
Protest.
Okay.
They had to cancel an appearance, actually.
I'm trying, my notes shall come up. They're not on this. Where's these notes at? I had the notes and they're not on my screen anymore. So what happened was, so they made this tour. So more or less, Prince they made the tour, and so Prince after the tour, I'm gonna say like white guilt set in. All right, so the Prince said something like, he has this overwhelming remorse for the way that those countries have been treated and them not knowing anything about it, more or less, right? But keep understanding that there has been a lot of countries that has been under British rule for a long time, but these Caribbean countries have been treated differently. Keep in mind, like for example, Canada is under British rule, right? But the Caribbean countries are under British rule also, but they're under British rule and they're part of that slave trade. So then how they're supported and how they're treated is totally different. So even though these countries have their own governments and whatever, so there's just like just like Canada has their own president, those type of things. So do these countries. It's just that the Queen and whatnot, they're just public figureheads, but they do have a level of control if they wanted to over these countries. These countries now are in the place of they want their own. They want to run. They want to run their own countries without having the queen having any say so. And it's about time. A lot of this motivation is coming from a lot of Black Lives Matters movements. It's been coming along and realizing that it's time for them to take over their own land and run their own land. But I think that the England doesn't want them to leave, and part of that tour was to not have them leave, right?
Yeah. They were not met with open arms, and rightfully so. I mean, the British Empire. Let's take. I mean, the tour started in Belize. The second stop was in Jamaica, where they were met with protesters, basically demanding that they apologize. And let's start with apologize for slavery first.
Right.
Then we can talk about reparations. But let's say you're sorry for what you did. Let's admit what you did, because the British Empire controlled Jamaica for more than 300 years and forced hundreds and thousands of African slaves to toil the island under brutal conditions, while farming sugar cane with 430 sugar estates in the mid 1700s. And they also protested that they noted that British raped and killed thousands of slaves as an apology for many, many different reasons. So it's unbelievable they can show up and thought they're going to get met with open arms and we're so glad to see. Although some of the countries did have some supporters, but they were right in every way to be upset that they decided to come on this soil and act like nothing happened, like these black folks just showed up in these islands. They just decided to take a boat over here. And then the fact of how the living conditions, as you said, Mari, Canada is under British rule as well, but Canada and Jamaica and Belize and the Bahamas are completely different places. They're considered to be third world countries. And the fact that they're in those conditions under this rule is unbelievable to me, as much wealth as the British Empire has. So I think that these people will definitely deserve to, number one, have an apology made, and number two, they need more aid in terms of for the economic wealth that these folks don't have. Yeah, they have a government now being ran by black folks, but they just don't have the economical means to really become any type of real, not in fact a superpower, but just to compete on any type of level, because there's just not many resources there left. So I think that maybe the narrative has been started. Maybe they'll go back and think about what these protesters were talking about. I hope. And I'm hoping that all of them gain independence from the British Empire. For what? There's no need for them. Somebody had a sign up that said, "Kings and queens are for fairy tales, not for the Caribbean."
Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got going on in the comments.
I don't think we had anybody come in, did we? Oh, just a couple.
Yeah, a few comments about Ted Cruz, which I think we got to already. Yeah, sounds like Danica said it's way past time. Yes, agreed. We've talked about reparations on this program, and I know we will continue to talk about it because it's one of the things that we feel strongly about, and I think it's integral to our platform, to the 360 platform as well. And you raised a great point about reparations for Caribbean nations. And it's fantastic that activists in Jamaica, people in Jamaica, called out Prince William or demanded from Prince William reparations for those centuries of oppression and racial tyranny there in Jamaica. So I think the key to reparations is going to be when people across countries can begin to unite and think about their struggles together. And any well-meaning people who side and support and are fighting for reparations, I think linking together. So, I mean, that's something for us to think about in 360 as well. So anyway, that's just a thought I had thinking about what Danica said there when she said way past time. Any other thought? Any other comments that we missed there that we should get to?
No, I think that was. No, I think we got to all of them. I thought we had to about that little hip hop discussion, man. I think maybe might have stayed out of that one.
Hey, well, I think everyone who's listening with us loved our take, especially mine. So I disagree with, or I think we covered it pretty well, man.
I think so. All right, well, I don't see anything else in the comments to get to, and that sounds like everyone had everything they want to say tonight. So we're gonna jump into a few other last items for the night. Of course, we're gonna be on next week. We've been coming on every single week, same time, 8:00 on Wednesday. We didn't make the announcement last time, but Wednesday is gonna be our new day. We were on Thursdays for a while, but this is our new day. We're gonna be on.
Man, why we move to Wednesday?
Man, I just had to change the schedule. It works for everybody. Hopefully, everybody's working for everyone's schedule as well. If it doesn't, if y'all prefer Thursdays, hey, let us know. But I think Wednesdays have been working so far.
Okay.
We also want to talk about an upcoming event. Man, this is going to be a good one, y'all. Rick Ross has authored a book called The Perfect Day to Boss Up. You all know him as the MC Rick Ross, but this is talking about the business mogul Rick Ross. We're going to have a discussion about the book on April 14th at 8 p.m. Now, that will be a Thursday for this particular discussion, but it's going to be a good one. We're going to have basically getting some excerpts out of the book, some gems in there, some nuggets that we want to share with y'all, because economics is part of our platform. We definitely want to see everybody boss up, and so we're going to talk about how you can get a piece of that piece of the pie by gaining economic wealth in this country with some gems in this particular book. So we will see you all next week. Any last thoughts from my brothers here? Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing. Oh, yeah. How can we forget this? You want to talk about that, Ike, or what?
Yeah, sure. So I guess just to add to what G said, if you notice, if we go back to this slide, you notice we have a Facebook page. That may be where you're tuning in now, but we also have a YouTube channel. So if you have not liked or followed or subscribed to both our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, definitely do that so that you can stay up to date on things that we're doing. We believe in offering a lot of free programming through our YouTube and our Facebook page. We will continue to do that. In addition, though, we have a new group called 360 Media Publishing and Consulting. You can check that out at 360 Collective online. If you're part of an organization that is struggling, or if you are part of a school community that is in need of some support, the three of us have expertise in those areas. We are beginning to work with small groups and even some larger ones. And if you have need for some support, whether it's professional development, whether it's problem solving, whether it is coaching, or even guest speaking, these are all things that we and our group specialize in. We have others who are rocking with us. So check out 360 Media Publishing and Consulting at 360collective.online. There's lots of great material at the website, not only information about our consulting piece, but some of our previous programs. You can learn more about our background and even upcoming events as well. So definitely check out the website and get in contact with us if you have an interest in working with us or receiving support from us. If you like the work that we've done, the programming we've provided, and our approach, we would definitely be willing to and interested to talk to you more about your needs. So that's the last thing that I had there, good brothers. I think that just about tops it off.
All right. Well, look, we'll see you all next week. Real Powers people.
Real Powers people.